Welcome to part 4 of my building the skiff. This is the final episode. I'll show you the ship in just a minute. But before we get to that, I want to talk about the future and where I plan on going. There are two that I purchased from Model Expo. The first one is the President, and I believe this is an Italian ship. It's made by Sergal. To me that sounds Italian. Next is the one that I talked about doing, and that is the Flying Dutchman. I will be doing that, I promise, and it will be right after the next build. But with the partnership that I have formed with Model Expo, I wanted to build something completely different, and that is this riverboat. It's the Chaperone, and I'm excited to get it started on it. I'll do a box opening and first episode very soon. But I wanted to give you a heads up on what my plans are. So it's going to be the Chaperone, then the Flying Dutchman, and then probably the President. I'm thrilled to have Model Expo as a sponsor on my channel. I can't wait to get started on the next build. I will encourage you to go on their website. That's modelexpoonline.com. Go to the bottom of the page, put in your email address, sign up on their mailing list. You'll get one email a day, but if you check that out, you will find some fantastic deals. You can cancel at any time, not a problem. Let me show you the finished skiff and the steps that I took to get that finally completed. I had mentioned before that I thought that these posts would all be cut off, and the instructions do say that now. And it can be helpful if you put something behind it, because they can be fragile, and then you want to cut it off flush with the top of the boat. This little saw isn't my favorite. It really cuts when you pull. So like I had mentioned earlier, I'm getting a nicer one, hopefully, on my little Christmas list for my children and grandchildren to get me for Christmas. 83, I'm actually going to skip because I want to be able to set the boat down like this and do some of the other work. The instructions are having you put this, what is called a skeg, and there are two of these with the kit, but you're only going to use one. And the one that you choose to use, you're going to want to take your sanding block and make this match the contour of that bottom part of the ship. I will glue that on later. I want to be able to set the boat down flat, so that's probably the last thing I will put on. For steps 86 through 89, you're making a row block for this oar support. So you're taking a 1-inch piece, you glue these two pieces together, and you're going to drill a 1/16 inch hole each end. And the only way you can do that without it slipping around, because this is real small to work with, is I made a pilot hole, I suppose, or a mark, so that I can get the drill bit to fit right in there. Once that is done, you're going to cut these down so you have two pieces, each one being 3/8 of an inch long, which just happens to be 9.53 millimeters. There's one. And two. The small part goes down, and the angle's kind of in that direction. Once you finish step 89, the instruction manual is going to have you do some painting on the ship. That's going to be your decision as far as what you paint and how you paint it. I made mine more individual, and I painted it earlier. I'm also having more stained wood than what the model directions call for. I'm going to skip for now steps 90 and 91. It's making a display brace to balance the ship. I'm going to decide what kind of base later after I finish building the entire thing. Moving on to step 92. has used this drawing for measurements. This is a 1-to-1 scale, so you can use this to measure your boards. This is another example where I'm going to use walnut that I have. So you can decide whether to use the wood that's provided, or if you have some walnut strips like I do, you could use that. I have all these cut to length out of my walnut, and these I will finish with the tung oil, and then I'll put them in the boat. I've got this first one glued in place, and you're going to need a spacer so that each one of these additional boards is equal apart. The instructions and say to use a piece of this scrap. Hopefully you saved this. If not, you can just come up with something that will be about that size, as long as they're consistent. So I'm going to cut 2 spacers out of this. Cut this in 2. This will be my spacer. I can use it this way, it doesn't matter. Here they are, all glued in place. They have 1 coat of the tung oil on them. I might do a light coat of tung oil after 24 hours. I'll just wait and see how it looks, but right now it looks pretty good the way it is. In step 99, I think there is an error in the manual. It says cut 1 2-inch length from some wood. Now I'm using my own. Remember, I have the black walnut, and this is going to be the supports for this front bench. Let me put this up here. It says to cut 1 of these, but I read on, it doesn't mention cutting a second one, and you need 1 for each side. So I think it should say cut 2 2-inch lengths. We'll see in a little bit if I was right or wrong. 99 and 100 are these rear seat risers, which I've already done. I'd done them earlier because I stained them. Steps 101 through 105 is going to be placement of the seat that's further up front. It'll also place the rear seat in its spot also. I'm working on a couple things, possibly out of order, but just out of simplicity. So step, I think 102 through 104 deals with the seats. On this back one, I'm taking off the corner here using my sanding block about a 45-degree angle. I'm doing that so that this edge, because that's slanted, I want that edge to get right up against that, which that will work fine. I can glue this in place now. I'm going to go ahead and clamp this just for a little while so I don't have to hold it. Step 106, 107 is cutting what is called an end wall. And I have 1 in place here, kind of setting up. You need to angle it back here at the back. And then it says to scrape with your knife the finish off the tops of these, cut an edge. What I ended up doing was using a combination of things, a file and this little knife. Measured down 1/8 of an inch, and then there's like a little ledge there for this to sit on. Good fit there. Test fit it. After you get the end walls in place, then the next step would be this guardrail made out of walnut. And in hindsight, I wish I would have gone ahead and bit this by getting it moist and then heating it up and bend it, because I've had trouble with it popping off even though I was using the CA glue. So what I did to counter that, and I don't know if I can zoom in tight enough, but I put a small nail there. I could actually space those out and put them all the way down if I want to. Maybe eventually I will. But for now I put 1 at the front and 1 at the back on both sides, just to help secure that in. I had it pop off a couple times. I'm ready to put on that piece that was back in step 83, 84. I'm going to use the CA glue. That's pretty thick, so I'm just going to tap it on this scratch paper there. Gives me a thinner bead. And now the art of trying to center this visually. I completed the underside, put this guide on. I did not pay close enough attention. I must have bumped it after I set it in place, so it's not centered. That's my error. I went ahead and put this little support piece on so that the boat can sit nice and flat. This is the tie rope that came with the ship. I replaced it with this black one. I like black better. You make a little bit of a loop on the front so it could cast to shore, and I'll work on what kind of loop I want in the floor of the boat. One other thing that I added is this top cross piece, and that is also out of the walnut. Did not come with the ship necessarily. I just like that look better. It's a little more finished. Put in the holders for the oars. Haven't decided how I'm going to display them yet. I think that looks pretty good just like that. That's the completion of the Skiff. Hope you enjoyed the series. It's about 8 5/8 long and about 3 1/8 inches wide. And it looks pretty good. That's it on segment 4, my building the Skiff. I enjoyed making the boat. I hope you will follow along for my next adventure in building the Chaperone. I plan on starting this build tomorrow morning, and I'll post it within just a few days. This is Boiler Dan 1, and always thanks for watching and following along.